Joining me now, we have Michael Schmidt, New York Times investigative reporter. His latest co-authored headline, a Trump executive order sets out what could be a roadmap for retribution. Welcome, Michael. I'm so glad to have you here. Before we get to your article, is this Trump seeking to have the government's finest legal minds working on his anti-immigration agenda, or is it retribution or punishment or some sort of payback?
I'm not sure. Look, they ran on a platform of tougher immigration policies and enforcement. So this would seem to be fitting in that. Look, he has taken a lot of actions over the past week, in his first week in office, that certainly look like the beginnings of a retribution campaign. The most significant of those being taking the security details away from former national security officials who face a threat from Iran over the killings of Soleimani back when those national security officials worked for Trump. He signed an executive order that starts the government down a path of fact-finding to look at previous weaponization and bias under the previous administration, under the Biden administration. He took the security clearances away from former intelligence officials. So he has done a lot of what he said he would do in terms of both immigration, cracking down, taking a tougher stance on immigration, and on also retribution, beginning to follow through on what he said he would do on the campaign trail.
You referenced John Bolton there. Let's take a listen right now. I'll have my director play what Donald Trump himself said and John Bolton's reaction as well to exactly what you've just described. Take a listen, everyone.
At some point, your security detail comes off. And, you know, you can't have them forever. They can hire their own security. They all made a lot of money. Fauci made a lot of money.
The decision to remove protection should be threat-based. It should certainly not be based on political differences or the fact you've got a petty, vindictive person as president.
Michael, what do we know about where these ideas came from? Did Donald Trump come up with them themselves? I mean, you might have heard my conversation with Sabrina Singh. I want to add to it, you know, removing Mark Milley's portrait from the hallowed halls there in the Pentagon.
Yeah, look, a lot of these things, like taking Milley's portrait down, is basically for show. They're things that show retribution. But the taking away the security details is something different. It brings the security of those individuals who criticize Trump into question. And now they have to go out and figure out how to defend and fend for themselves based on a threat that was created because they worked in the government and they worked under Donald Trump at the time. And they were part of this extraordinary decision to kill Soleimani, back at the beginning of 2020. So it is a type of retribution that Trump did not talk about openly on the campaign trail. He talked a lot about going after people from the January 6th investigation, going after the special counsel Jack Smith, looking at the Biden family. The question of whether they were going to seek retribution by taking security details away from national security officials was not something that was a campaign line for him. It was not something that he talked about on the stump.
Yeah. And we should say Dr. Anthony Fauci as well, who really oversaw the country getting through the COVID pandemic. He has had to hire his own private security and has done so. Let me ask about what you wrote with regard to Trump's executive order that could be his roadmap to retribution, because he ordered the attorney general to review 4 years of civil and criminal law enforcement, including actions of DOJ, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. He ordered a similar review for intelligence agencies to be led by the Director of National Intelligence. So first, Michael, for DOJ. Who's likely to be in the crosshairs as a result of this? Is Trump looking directly at Jack Smith here?
Yeah, look, they're looking at anything that they thought they basically didn't like that went on from 2001 to 2024. So there's a lot of different things that happened. Obviously, Trump being indicted twice, and what it does is it sort of starts the conveyor belt. It provides them with a way, a roadmap to go in and start looking at how investigative and intelligence decisions were made to determine whether they think that there was bias in them. That executive order, while it asks for these agencies and departments to go and look for this type of behavior, is pretty clear in its language about how Trump views what went on. It says that the January 6th defendants were unfairly treated. It talks about how the previous administration weaponized the government against Trump and his allies. So it sort of sets out what the conclusion is before the investigating even starts. But what it does is that it shows that there is more thought and more blueprint going into retribution than there was in the previous administration. There was not this type of systematic effort, certainly early on, when Trump came into office, to go after his rivals. He would tweet different things about what he wanted. Oftentimes, those actions, proactive uses of the government's powers against his enemies, were taken. But this shows much more of a roadmap for how they could do that. It starts these agencies and departments looking through their files for things that could be publicly revealed to embarrass and shame the people from the previous administration, to turn them into targets of public attacks. Or it could even be something that ultimately ends up being given to an investigative agency like the FBI to start an inquiry.
Gotta say, Michael Schmidt, it's a great article. You know what I love about having you on? I have to read your writings, and it's like it's a homework assignment, for an investigative reporting class. You ought to see. I'm old school. Everything's highlighted. I got stars. I got stuff underlined. Thank you for bringing it to us. You're welcome to come on anytime. Thank you, Michael.